on reports, maybe presentations and other communication related projects. All these things actually need a collaborative communication effort, right, where more people are working together to achieve a certain goal. Now, collective energies and expertise, they can produce better results than work that is being done individually, right? Collective approach, or in other words collaborating, it produces synergy, right? Synergy means that when you are working as a group, the results that you can achieve are far more than the same amount of work that each and every person of that team can achieve individually, right? So whenever we are collaborating in teams, whenever we are trying to communicate in teams, if it done in the proper way, if it done in the right way, it produces much better results than doing the work individually, right? Collaboration has its benefits, as I have already said, that it can produce great results, have great efficiencies. But on the other hand, collaborating also requires a special effort. If you can do it right, then very well, but if you cannot do it right, then it can end into certain problems, right? So collaboration is very good for the organization, but in order to do it rightly, in order to do it well, a special effort is actually required, right, to make collaboration easy, smooth and efficient, right? So let's start with for example, you are writing something, right? It can be a presentation, it can be a report or anything. So while you are writing, and it is a collaborative writing because a team is involved in it, there are certain guidelines for that, right? In any collaborative effort, team members, they definitely come from different backgrounds. They may have different personal preferences, they may have different work habits, they may have different priorities, and there can be many other differences, right? So in order to do it smoothly and do it in an efficient way, certain guidelines need to be followed, because it won't be easy to smoothly collaborate and smoothly manage work between people of different backgrounds, different preferences, different work habits. Now, for example, if a team consists of a person who is more of a technical background, a person who is more of a management background, maybe a person who is more of a scientific background, right? So the technical expert may be focusing on accuracy and scientific standards. An editor, he might be more focused on the organization and the coherence of the writing, the words used in that specific writing. Now, if there is a manager, he would be more focused on the schedules and costs and goals and things like that. So a team, it obviously consists of different individuals, and individuals are different. That is why it becomes a little challenging to do it in the right way. Okay? Everyone must be flexible, and must be open to opinion of others. Flexibility here is very important, because if you are not flexible enough and you are not open to opinions of others, then groups may not survive, then groups may not operate efficiently and effectively. You must always be focusing on the team objective rather than individual objectives. As we have said before, that there are many individuals in teams, and it can often happen that sometimes people start to focus on their individual objectives and they ignore the team objectives. Now, this is something that should not be happening, right? So whenever you are making an effort, a collaborative effort for writing, there are a few guidelines which we should consider in order to be successful, right? The first one is select the collaborators carefully. Now, the first step is that whenever you are trying to constitute a team, whenever you are putting together a team for a certain task, you must choose the collaborators carefully. They should not be chosen randomly, right? People who are more relevant to the task must be included into the team. People who have relevant experience, who have relevant information, and who have relevant talent, these type of people must be included in the team. And those people who may be irrelevant in one way or another, they must not be included in the team, otherwise it will cause inefficiencies, right? The second point is to agree on project goals before you start. Now this is very important. Starting without a clear idea of what the team hopes to accomplish, it inevitably leads to wastage of time. It leads to failure, right? So before starting anything, first of all, the whole team must agree on the project goals, that what we are actually trying to achieve, what should we be doing, right? The third point is give your team time to bond before diving in. Now this is very important. You should not just dive into work at once and start doing things. It is very important for the team members to know each other. As we have mentioned earlier, that there are always different types of people in teams. People have different backgrounds, different perspectives. So this is your chance to know those backgrounds, to know those perspectives, to know those ideas, right? So there a certain time should be allowed for a team. It should be given to the team so that they can bond, they can socialize before actually starting the work. The next point is clarification of individual responsibilities. Now this is also very important. When many people are working in a team, each and every one of them must be aware that what are the primary responsibilities of those team members, what is actually being expected from them. In this way, overlapping of work, overlapping of responsibilities can be avoided, right? The next thing to consider, the next important thing to consider is establish clear processes, right? Make sure that everyone knows how work will be done and how it will be managed from the step one to the last step. Now this is very important. People must be aware in the beginning that how things are going to be done, how they are actually going to be achieved, right? The next point is avoid composing as a group. Now this is very important. It is specifically related to writing, whether you're writing a report or presentation or anything. Composing means actually writing it, what words you are going to use, how the sentence structure should be, what creative vocabulary you are going to be using. This is called composing, how you are actually going to write it. This is probably a very important part, but this composing part should not ideally be done as a group, right? Because writing styles, picking creative words, picking creative vocabulary, the sentence structures and all these things, they should be done individually, because everyone has different style of writing, they have different ideas, and they might rarely agree on something. So ideally it is preferred that the task of composing, it should not be done on a group, or if it is a big project and many people are involved, so yes, you can divide the task among them, but then at least there should be one editor who actually goes through all the stuff. I'll give you an example of the newspaper. Now every article of the newspaper, they're written by different people, but ultimately there is one editor who actually goes through the whole newspaper, and if certain changes are needed, those changes are actually done to the newspaper. So composing, it is preferable to be done individually rather than in a group. The next point is make sure that tools and techniques are ready and they're compatible across the team. It is very important that even minor details such as maybe different versions of a software or maybe different formats of a file, they can actually cause delay in projects. I'll give you an example that Microsoft Office, it is a very common software. A while ago it could only make documents with the format of doc, doc. This was the standard format of Microsoft Office. Later on, when the new Microsoft versions start coming in, that default format actually changed from doc to docx. So in those times, especially in that transition period, this was a bit of a problem, because sometimes you would be receiving a file with docx format, but your Office version was older one, so you could not actually access it. So these are tiny small details which can cause a problem. And the last one is check to see how things are going on along the way. You should not be assuming that everything must be going perfectly, everything must be in order. No. From time to time you should keep on checking things, so that any problem or any issue, it can be resolved in time, right? The next type of communication which we usually do as a group in organizations are meetings. Meetings are frequently conducted in organizations. Most of the communication is actually done through meetings. Now, there are many benefits of meetings. There are many purposes of meetings. Meetings are important for employees as well, because that is the place where you can actually get your efforts recognized, where people can see you. Now, recognition of efforts is very important. Whenever we are putting an effort into something, we expect that effort to be recognized, right? Now, recognition of your efforts, it can be done in a meeting. Meetings can be done for problem solving, developing ideas, identifying new opportunities. Meetings are also a great way of building teams, right? But meetings, they need to be done right. Meetings can often go wrong, and it may result merely into wastage of time. It often happens, but it should not be this way. They should be done in a right way in order to get those benefits from it. Now, the first step is how to prepare for your meeting. Now, you should not just go and sit in a meeting. There are certain preparations that you need to do for a meeting. The first one is define your purpose. It is very important. Why are you here? Right? What is the basic purpose of the meeting? Purpose of a meeting is actually a broad thing. Some meetings might be solely for the purpose of exchanging information. Some meetings might be for the purpose of reaching to certain decisions, or maybe solving certain problems or identifying an opportunity, right? So the purpose must be clear. The second thing is selecting participants for the meeting. Now, this is also very important, because relevant people must be joining the meeting. Irrelevant people, they will only cause problems. They would not contribute in a positive way. So select people who are who are important for this meeting, who should be in this meeting, who are more relevant to this meeting. Choose the venue and the time. Obviously, we need to do that. The next thing is set the agenda. What is agenda? Agenda is basically certain points, certain ideas. It is a document of certain points, certain ideas, which is actually circulated among the intended participants of the meeting in advance, so that when they come to the meeting, they are prepared up to some extent. Now, what a good agenda should have? A good agenda, number one, it should know that what do we need to do in this meeting to accomplish our goals. The first characteristic of a good agenda is that it should be telling the people who are trying to come to the meeting that what do we need to do in this meeting to accomplish our goals. The second is what issues are of greatest importance to all, and the last one is what information must be available in order to discuss these issues. Now, this information is shared with the participants of the meeting in advance, so when they come, they can come prepared, right? Now, let's come towards actually conducting a meeting, how we can conduct an efficient meeting. Meetings can often go wrong. They can often get inefficient. So in order to keep them efficient, the first important thing to remember is to keep the discussion on track. Now this is one of the major problems with meetings, that somehow the discussion gets off the track. The actual agenda, the actual point, the actual purpose is left behind, and the whole time is wasted in some other discussion. So keeping the discussion on track is very important, and you as a leader, or maybe as the moderator of that meeting, play a very important role. You need to guide people, you need to mediate between them, you need to summarize them or redirect the discussion which have actually gotten out of track. So keeping the discussion on track is very important. Follow agreed on rules. You must set some ground rules. Every organization has some rules. Those must be followed strictly. Participation must be encouraged. Participation is very important. If you see someone who is being quiet, or someone who is being over talkative, so you must somehow try to balance it out. You must encourage the quiet people to talk, and you must ask the talkative people to give other people time as well. Participate actively. You as a manager or as a moderator should also be participating in a positive way, and your participation most of the times would help to keep the meeting on the track. Using mobile devices respectfully. Now this is a very common problem these days. Nowadays, whenever we are sitting, we are somehow addicted to our phones. We are so much dependent on them as well. We are constantly using our phones, maybe for something which we actually need, or maybe we are just doing it because of our addiction to mobile phones. Mobile phones they can be used in a meeting, but in a respectful manner. Now what is meant by respectful use of mobile devices? For example, you are noting down key points of the meeting, or maybe you are using your mobile phone to get some ideas for that discussion. Maybe you are trying to take some meeting minutes or anything. Now that's all right, but if you are using Facebook or some other media, or maybe you are watching some irrelevant videos on YouTube, now this type of thing, it comes under it is not respectful use of mobile phones during meeting, and it should be avoided. The last thing when you do in a meeting is to close the meeting. Now closing the meeting is very important. You need to verify that the objectives of the meetings have been arranged or not. Maybe the purpose of the meeting, whether it has been achieved or not. And you should make sure that all participants have a chance to clear up their misunderstandings. They are all very clear about whatever has been concluded in the meeting. Another thing which is very important, and most of the times often it gets ignored, is that the purpose of the meeting is not just to conduct a meeting. The purpose of a meeting is to achieve certain objective. So whenever we come to certain conclusions or solutions in a meeting, now those solutions or those points or those ideas, they must be put into productive use as well. They must be implemented. If they are not implemented, then they are useless. There is a thing known as meeting minutes. A meeting minute, basically, whenever there is a meeting, a certain person is given the responsibility to note down major points of the meeting, what has been discussed and what has been concluded, and what have people been agreed on. So when you note these things in small points, they are called meeting minutes, and the meeting minutes are actually shared after the meeting with each and every participant of the meeting. And ideally, whenever you are starting the next meeting, now before starting the new discussion, the minutes of the older meeting, they need to be discussed, and we need to see that whether those things are implemented or not, right? Coming towards another thing, listening. Now we have discussed it many times that listening is very important. In fact, some people argue that listening is the most important part of communication. Because whenever we are in an organization, we are dealing with people, and people need to be heard. If you are not hearing someone, that person may not be comfortable, that person may not be motivated, but you hear someone out, the motivation levels actually increase. So people need to be heard. Listening is very important. And on the listening has many other benefits as well. You get information through listening, new ideas, new creative ideas, new creative information, new information. Yes, these are very important. Communication, and if communication is poor, it can cost you, it can cost millions to a company, right? It can cost millions to a company. For example, um, maybe you have done some legal mistake, right? Because of your poor listening skills, right? Maybe you have done some other problems. Maybe you have not met some deadlines. Maybe there were some customers who were to be supplied something. There can be anything which can actually cause problems if you are not um, listening correctly. If you are not listening actively, if you are not listening properly, right? You can lose some opportunities, you can make some other errors. So effective listening is very important. Now, speaking about listening, listening usually falls under three categories, three different types. The first part is content listening, where the primary purpose of listening is to understand and retain the information in the speaker's message. Whatever information is being given, it is to be understood and it is to be retained, right? It is to be remembered. Now, whether you agree with it or not, that is not the problem here, right? Whether you agree with it or not, whether you approve it or disapprove it, whether you want to comment on it, whatever you want to do, that is not the focus of this type of listening. Here you only listen to understand what the other person is saying. The next is critical thinking. Now, critical thinking's goal is to understand and evaluate the meaning of the speaker's message or many levels, right? So in this case, you can argue. In this case, you can agree or disagree. In this case, you can evaluate the message and then you can provide certain conclusions as well. And the last one is empathic listening. Empathic listening. Now, empathic listening is only to understand the speaker's feelings, needs, and wants, so that you can appreciate his point, so that you can appreciate his perspective. This type of listening is usually it is used for motivating the employees. The purpose is to understand the emotion of the people, and the purpose is to make them feel important. Listening also, it is a process. It starts with receiving. When a listener receives some information through some physical sense, then that information is decoded. After decoding, a certain meaning is acquired from it, that is to be remembered. Then evaluation is being done. You evaluate the new information, you come to certain conclusions, and after that, in the last step, you actually respond back to that communication, right? This was the basic listening process. That was it for today. Hope to have a good question answer session in our live class. Quote of the day is in front of you. Read it, understand it, and implement it in your lives. Have a good day. Thank you.